Call the county meeting to order, short business presentation.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Minutes,
Move to approve.
second, motion is second. Any other comments on the minutes? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Agenda, Lucas?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to amend the agenda under new business to introduce, or let the library director introduce himself to us.
Okay.
Other than that, I move that we approve the agenda as stated.
Okay.
Second.
Got a motion and second to approve the agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Mr. Gunderson, is he present or doesn't look like it?
You just pulled up, so sound like that.
You wanna wait? Might as well. Kevin's gonna take a little while.
Yeah. And Mr. Slavinsky sent me a text that he's stuck in construction, so he said he'd be here about 5:45.
I'm good. Roger. How's the day going?
Pretty good.
Good. Go ahead. What you have before?
Got an estimate from Dakota mud jacking for trying to jack up his 2 steps on the south side of the armory. They think it'll work, but they're not positive. And I would like to try and keep those existing steps, you know, that we have. And I guess I'd like to have them give it a try and see what happens.
This is on the south side of the armory?
Yeah.
Next to the street?
There's 2 steps that are broken in the center.
Okay.
And the one in particular got kind of fallen down, and that probably made the next one break.
Okay.
So, and it's been that way all winter, but this spring it maybe got a little worse with freezing thawing. So, I mean, people are still using them, and it's okay, but we need to try and get them fixed up again. And like I said, I'd like to try and keep the existing ones. If they can't get them jacked back up, I suppose the thing to do is just pull them out of there and put in concrete. It's not on the historic register, so we could do that.
Right.
So,
Okay, but they want 1,600 to...
yeah, that's, if it works and they get them raised back up again, they're gonna put some sort of steel to set in the joints on each step to kind of help water from getting down in there,
Moisture got in there and froze, I suppose.
so.
Will that last us a couple more years if it does work?
Well, if it, well, talking to those guys, it could potentially last many years if it works.
Should last forever.
Okay. Well, I mean, I figure $1,600 is a much cheaper bill than replacing the whole set, so I'd say let's try it.
Okay?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay,
Go to Mud Jack if it's.
we got a motion and a second for the mud jacking on the south steps of the memorial building. Any other comments? Other than wish you good luck.
Yeah.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Anything else?
Yeah, also, regarding the gym floor for, you know, we were thinking about replacing that next summer in 2020. And a couple of the companies, when I was talking to, they basically called back and said, why do you want to replace it? Why don't we just sand it down good? And some of the rough spots that we have, they figure they can basically sand out. And I said, yeah, why not?
Mm-hmm.
So I've gotten an estimate for sanding the floor from one of the companies. Another one has emailed me back, said he's going to be on vacation for the next couple of weeks. But when he gets back, he would send an estimate as well. But, I guess, kind of looking for your approval maybe to pursue this area rather than replacing the whole floor. And they felt that if they sanded it down, I mean, there's the floor could last for another 20, 30 years, who knows? You know, it really doesn't see that much use. And I just had never thought of it, but even though I've basically done the same thing at my house. So,
You think we should do the stage also?
well, I talked to the guy who gave me this estimate here, and I could possibly do the stage myself. It isn't that that needs to be sanded like the floor does. The stage, if we just can get down to the wood, the old finish, that would be good enough. And if I had enough, what we call screens, when I screen off the old finish, and enough time, I could probably get that down to the wood too. So I think the stage, I could probably do that myself.
Okay.
But the gym floor would, that would require their heavy sanders that they use. So as of right now, I guess I'm just looking, rather than replacing the floor, maybe just pursuing this avenue.
I think it's a great avenue to pursue.
Absolutely.
Because there's really nothing, other than a couple little spots, there's really not that much wrong with the gym floor.
Okay, help me out with this price now. That 17,000 something, that includes the stage?
No,
No,
that's the gym
no,
floor.
this other stuff is extra.
Correct.
Okay,
I think that's a pretty good price though. I mean, when we recovered the wood floors underneath the old Hoiberg building carpet, you know, that stuff was 100 years old, it looks great now, but that cost us $8,000 a side, so. And those spaces aren't as big as a big gym floor. I mean, I'd say that's pretty reasonable and a good idea.
When was the last time you think it was touched?
Well, I
Seal it.
screen it every summer. And, but what these guys are talking about, they get a big heavy sander that it actually takes off wood, which I do not do. So.
I think some rough estimates that Roger was initially looking at was somewhere in that neighborhood of about $100,000 or better.
To replace the floor.
To replace it.
Yeah,
It's not that huge that much.
no,
We're not gonna play a district tournament or anything else.
no.
Does the floor have like dead spots and stuff in there, or is it pretty good now?
I've never heard any complaints, but,
I mean, I guess I haven't played basketball in for years.
yeah.
I would think
So,
it's sitting on cement, that'd be my guess.
Because I mean, that's usually the reason, I mean, if the wood's good, there's usually not a whole lot of reason to replace the floor unless you have a slip floor issue or there's, you know.
mhm.
I think there was some problem boards that you identified and.
Right, there's a few areas,
And
and,
replace a few
and if
boards.
you go in and look in areas, you can see where
It's not
it
sitting
isn't
on
cracked
cement.
or anything, but the boards are starting to cup a little bit, just a
So it's
little
not
bit,
sitting on
and
cement.
that sander would level all that off.
No, it really does come out nice when
Just
they do that.
stringers out of there.
So,
Well, there's, yeah, I'm guessing it must be sitting on stringers or something since the basement's underneath.
Um,
Does it have some type of a,
it's got, I don't know if it's 2x6 or what, but you can see, underneath one of the edge, trim along the edge, I popped that off and chopped a little hole in there so they can see underneath. And you can see their, well, floor runs east and west, and diagonal is 1x6 or 2x6, they're guessing. And then underneath that is the concrete.
Yeah, I've
there's
never
concrete
seen,
under there?
I've never seen dead spots out there or felt them, you know.
Yeah, like I said, it's been a
Little
while.
bit I
I've
played
been
on.
there, so.
I thought it was all right. Yeah, let's pursue it, huh? I need a motion, but.
Well, you wanna try to wait and see if you get an estimate from the other
Well,
companies?
yeah, and I should have 2 more estimates coming in.
Okay, well, we can just wait until the other estimates come, but, I mean, that's something like that, yeah, maybe we wanna go forward and take a look at it, please.
Where are the other 2 outfits out of,
I
Roger?
think they're all out of Minnesota,
Okay.
out of the cities area.
Do you have any type of timeline when they could do it, or
Well, we have,
do you have a timeline?
yeah, we told them that next, roughly, well, beginning of July, August, September, and first half of October is available.
Of next year?
Correct.
of next year.
Yes, 2020, not this summer. This year I'll just screen it like I usually do, is take down some finish and then put a recoil finish on there.
Because we're trying to work around achievement days and all that kind of thing.
Achievement days would just get over there at the end of June and then we
You know,
shut it down like we usually do and there were no weddings happened to be in all that time and the first thing that was coming up was the key event, which is like the third weekend and second weekend of October. So we just kept that area blocked off.
They need a couple weeks?
They were thinking, they said a month. I said, when they say a month, then they can probably have it done in 2 or 3 weeks. But I said, if we tell you 2 weeks, then it'll take 3. So,
Block off
We'll just
extra
say a
time
month.
just to be safe.
Yeah.
That's reasonable. Or you're not canceling events.
so we'll just keep that area blocked off those, 3 months and make sure they've got time to get in and do it.
You're more likely to have the other proposals at the next meeting, probably, yeah?
Maybe. I can bring them in as soon as I go.
Sounds good.
Okay. Sounds good.
do we need a motion to approve Roger seeking bids for that, or just go ahead and get them?
We pretty well got them seeked, all right?
I think
We're all right there,
I think we're good there.
I think. Yeah,
You
we're all right.
You can just have it so that when he does his 2020 budget,
Yeah.
have that as part of it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. Anything else, Ryder?
So,
Very good.
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, with that, we'll get carriage on the phone. Okay.
We're sorry, it is not necessary to dial a 1 or
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
No, it's not gonna cooperate.
Hello?
Hi, it's
Hi.
Mandy.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep, can everybody,
Yep.
okay.
Perfect.
Okay, we will start the next part of our agenda then.
Okay. So, how do you pronounce your last name? Louis?
Oh, Slominski.
Solminski? Okay. Want to make sure I get that right.
Yep.
Looking at the beer and liquor licenses for the Gentleman's Club,
Yep.
correct?
Yep.
Okay. What's kind of the hang up here? Somebody's got to fill me in a little bit.
Okay. What we've got, the main hang-up that we've got is that we need to get county approval and township approval.
Okay,
I've talked to the township people. They've processed the thought of having a special meeting for us. Because we learned that the township approval is supposed to come before the county approval. And our problem is the township approval meeting to approve to give us permission is on the 20th, 2 days from now. So I had chatted a little bit just with Lucas and them over the concept of getting this end sealed up with just the tentative agreement that, of course, it's not valid until we have the township approval.
okay.
The main thing with this is just, otherwise if we miss this, it's 2 more weeks and we've got, I didn't even take into account the blackjack people. We've got 24 people that have been unemployed now for just about 30 days. So
24 people, what?
24 people that, that work for us.
Okay.
Since the building has been closed that are sitting here, there's a few that have found other jobs and side jobs, but 2 weeks makes a big difference in those people's lives.
Oh, yeah.
So I was hoping we could get this end done. We go for the county thing on Thursday, is the meeting. We bring in that stuff to Carrie. The rest of it's done, the taxes are paid, licenses applied for, all of that. And then we can move to the next process of, we still gotta go through health inspection and all those things, but they can't do any of that till we get this stuff sealed up, so.
Well, this has gotta be done ahead of the health, is that
Yep.
correct? Is that right, Carrie?
So,
Go
I had
ahead.
a hard time kind of hearing Mr. Clemente. What I can tell you, Commissioner, is that under our county ordinance, an application must be accompanied by the township approval. That is, section 5, subsection 4. I know we don't have township approval on this application. Another issue, under the ordinance, generally, the commission has the ability to look into the facts as are related on the applications, as well as considering the fitness of the person applying. And the applications that I have in front of me, copies of, are Carla Grossman is applying on both the liquor and the beer license.
Present.
Is that correct?
That's correct, Carla's here.
She's present.
Okay.
Yes, Carrie.
And then my concern is, under our ordinance, the only person that can get a license is an owner, or the owners of a business at the location to be licensed. And the information provided to my office from Walter Johnson's attorney, Bruce Gibbons, is that Walter Johnson owns the business, that potential purchasers of the business have not shown up to sign papers. So I would urge the commission to have a copy of the lease that is being indicated in this application.
May I approach?
Go ahead, go ahead.
We can let her finish speaking first, Carla.
Oh, come on up, Carla. Carrie, Carla Grossman, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, Carla Grossman is present as well.
Okay.
Oh,
This is a new business. It has been trademarked, and the trademark has been approved by the Secretary of State. It has absolutely nothing to do with Walter Johnson. Wally's Wild West Roadhouse was never trademarked. It was trademarked, and that trademark was expired in December of this last 18. So, he has never, ever, ever coined Wally's Wild West Roadhouse. I had created a new business to put in here. That's why we had to go through everything, all the licenses.
I don't think that's the question here. The question is who owns the property?
Well,
Yep. And we have a purchase order literally saying with earnest money down, all of those things, that it's a done deal. My only concern, and my concern for Carla and for us buying the building, is that the building is just a building without a license. With everything that we've gone through and with the way this last thing was handled, in my town, what happened with us, had these people unemployed for 30 days, would have been handled with somebody stopping by and saying, hey, hi, we saw this, you have a problem. So we've been sitting here chasing our tails and trying to think of every angle in the world that could possibly get in the way of this business. So that's where we're sitting, is over there. Our agreement now with them is there's earnest money sitting there. It's done. Our only conclusion on that to finish it is we need to know that we are able to get a liquor license.
But it's not done because you don't have a lease yet.
We have a lease with Walter right now.
We don't see that though.
Yeah, and that's something we probably wrote it out for us before.
But if that's in our statute, you have to come with a lease before we're gonna okay this.
Because we had to get one for the health department.
Yeah, Mike has it.
Yeah.
Mike has the approval, and if we can get him on a conference call right now.
Mike.
Hard to do.
The
Michael Lee.
Michael Lee.
We had to get the same approval from Wally for him to get for full approval to be in there under Wally's name also. Because
Carrie,
in this, we get a little bit,
Yeah.
oh, sorry, I don't mean to cut anyone off. Carrie, as the ordinance reads, it's the owner of the building has to be the applicant, is that correct?
The license is, per the ordinance, the license is to be issued only to the owner or owners of the business.
Okay.
Now, The property itself is still owned by Walter Johnson and Hannah Johnson. Walter Johnson's attorney relayed to me yesterday morning that there was no purchase agreement, there was no agreement, and the business was remaining closed until something changed. That was an email yesterday morning.
And that was from who, Carrie?
Bruce Gibbons, who is Walter Johnson's attorney.
Okay. So that's where we're at now.
Okay, to kind of change this and move this, I don't know where the county permission lies and where, where we're at is, the township permission. The other end of this needs to be sealed up. But with that, when we produce whatever it be tomorrow, whatever, this agreement that shows that Walter Johnson is not a part of this anymore, that everything is done, do we need to wait till the next county commission meeting to get an approval of the alcohol or liquor license, being we have everything filed and everything else?
Well, we could probably decide that later.
I mean, I'm saying that, the paperwork.
Maybe I'm trying to catch up to all the details here and,
Yeah, the paperwork that you guys are, that.
Chairman Brown,
yes,
if I may interrupt, and I apologize, under our ordinance, the application has to have the township board approval.
first.
And facts need to be looked into as to the owner or owners, who's going to be responsible for the establishment. And the board can certainly have that looked into and consider further information once it's provided, but the approval has to be tabled until those things are done.
Yep.
Okay, so then I guess I only have one last, but really then it comes down to the last simple question of this transfer with Wally. Carla has her new business established. Does anybody in this room see a reason why when those two things are done that we won't be provided with a?
You don't even get the township approval.
Yeah.
We gotta see that first.
Okay,
You know.
but I know
lease.
Yes, but if they own the building, I guess they own the building.
When you buy when.
Is that right, Carrie?
Yeah, the owner of the building, if there's some lease agreement and some business change, it's the owner of the business.
Yes.
Is really what the question is. And there is nothing indicating that property is being leased to somebody to open a business.
And we should be aware. I have a very question that I'm still unsure of, and that you guys can help me. Now, when you say the owner of the business, is it the business or is it the property?
It's a business.
It's the business.
Did you hear that, Carrie?
I've heard part of it.
Is it the owner of the business or the property?
It is the owner of the business
Okay.
at the location thought to be licensed.
Yeah, so who's licensed to be the business owner at the Secretary of State's office?
You.
Okay, so as long as you can produce a lease that says you're either leasing or buying the building or it's contract for you or whatever it is, and you produce that, get the township approval, we approve it, and we can do it.
Okay, so then,
Yeah,
and
I don't
that's
foresee
really.
why, no, we wouldn't have a problem with approving it, it's just we have to have the ducks in a row.
That's honestly, I mean, I just, I've got odd little things, sort of in lieu of some weird little other side meeting, and I look and say, you know what, we get railroaded with this thing. And I finally go purchase this place, and next thing you know, we get this little stab in the back that says, oh, no, there's no more liquor licenses available, or something odd in that. That's the base we're trying to.
Oh, I don't think so.
No, we don't have a cap, so.
Okay, no, that's
That were a problem approving it in the past, I don't know.
Carrie, one other question I have is the health department all right with everything out there?
Okay, so Commissioner Brown, I did inquire with the health department. I did find out that as of May, I got an email on June 14th that they have complied with all the requirements. There are some follow-up requirements with specific dates, and then there is a monthly check-in that has to take place with them, but barring anything else occurring, they would be okay.
Okay, so the health department,
They give it the go-ahead, and there's always the chance that something could change.
You're right,
like as of now,
there will be
they're-
active monitoring for at least a 12-month period.
It's fine.
furnishes the lease,
Pardon?
township approval, right? Carrie, a lease and township approval?
We need the lease, the township approval, and if the commission wants any other facts looked at, then that's obtained. That's what the process is.
Okay,
And let's say like on the 18th, when I come back to town here for the township approval, the 20th, when I come back for the township approval, after I get that, can I just bring it to an office in this building with the lease.
Bring it to the auditor.
Yeah, very interesting, get it to the right people.
And then you could process my payments and get it underway, huh?
Well, I think we'll have to, the commission will have to.
have a meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to have a meeting to approve it again.
Can I,
It'll be the first meeting in July.
can I, in light of the unemployed, just respectfully request a special hearing or a special meeting?
We can look into that.
Thank you very much.
When we don't want to be out, so.
We can look into that. We want to make sure everything's aligned so we don't get into this meeting again and.
Yep. No, that's right, and the other things that we requested we would come, and as long as, I feel like if everybody here looks at us and tells us there's not a problem, that gets us to be able to proceed on the other end of this, you know?
Yep.
I don't want to get ourselves tied into something with a whole bunch of money tied into escrow and we get some sort of big surprise. Everything that I hear from the township, I hear no problems there. I talk to every individual on it, so I think we're good to go. We'll get those two things together and then we'll just hope somehow, I know these things are complicated, that's how the township thing got hard. But, you know, maybe we can arrange something where we can get, you know, once we get this, we're still not done. We still have to wait for a health inspection and all this. And that's what I get concerned about is time slipping by now, so.
When is the health inspection scheduled for?
Whenever we get the liquor license.
When you get the liquor license?
Yeah.
Is that right, Carrie?
What happens at the state level, I think the state sent a letter to Ms. Grossman indicating that once she had the township approval, then they would look at scheduling a pre-opening inspection with the state health department, and then they would consider it after that.
That sounds correct.
Yep, that is correct.
So they just need the township one then, to then get
That
that?
is what I saw in the letter from the state. Obviously, they have the township, they get the state, they still can't operate without the county.
Okay.
And can I leave my phone number so you know how to reach me if anything?
I think that would be the reasonable approach, because then if you get the township one on Thursday, then you get your health inspection scheduled. Then that'll give us enough time to know when, if we have to call a special or if we can, or, you know, we can get something working.
That's all we can ask for from you guys.
If I may, Chairman Brown?
Yep.
Mr. Slaminsky, what is your role in this whole operation? Because you're not on the application for beer or liquor
I
license.
placed him as my general manager.
Now, we don't approve for general managers, we approve for owners. So, we would need you as that spokesman for that. And the other thing is, Ms. Grossman, your application seems incomplete in some areas.
I did not know how to answer. I did not know how to answer the ones I did not answer.
No, your address, for instance, it's incomplete. We have a street address, but no city or
Oh,
those kind of things.
Would you like to change that stuff now or just come back in?
That's it.
Yeah, just come back and you know,
All right.
okay.
Candy will tell you whether or not it's all in order.
We'd have to say, you know, it would have to be completed before we.
Yeah, because it says here, how long have you lived as a resident of North Dakota? 29 years, 29
Yep, I'm,
days, 29 months?
sorry, I'm 29.
Yeah, it is pretty vague.
Sorry.
So there are just some minor things there that need to be adjusted, and, you know, I appreciate your input, Mr. Spolnitsky, but it would need to be Ms. Grossman that would, she's on the application for it.
No, with that being said, since the day that we decided to come in and help Wally and whatnot, Carla has worked beside me hand in hand. I mean, she's been the dirt of the operation. She's been the legal side of the reins of things. She's been the one that handles the paperwork and all of those things. I just happen to be. She's a very smart person. Her social skills are not the greatest, so I just fill in for those sometimes.
Okay.
Most of the time.
Anything else, Carrie?
Yeah, before the commission signs off with me, I did also put on the agenda the issue of the current licenses. One is a retail liquor license that was issued to Walter Johnson, which expires on June 30th of this year. One is a beer license, which was issued to Walter Johnson, which expires, I believe, same time frame. I just wanted to note that both of these are filled out as Walter Johnson being the applicant, but they are signed by different people. And I would also like to point out to the board that Walter Johnson's state license was not renewed, and Walter Johnson, from the information we have been provided, no longer is a resident of the state, nor does he have a business incorporated in the state. So I would ask the board to entertain a motion to terminate those licenses that were issued.
So moved.
Excellent.
We got a motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. That's all I have.
That's all you have? Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks, Gary.
Yes, bye-bye.
Okay, we'll get that buttoned up. Let's go. We get work.
Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kevin, go ahead.
Sorry about this work. All right. Project updates, the base stabilization on the truck run, I contacted the contractor, we got all the contract signed now, so he's anticipating starting in the middle of June, or July, excuse me. And it's only gonna take, provided decent weather, it's only gonna take 2 or 3 days, so it's gonna go fast.
2 to 3 days.
That'll be quick.
This is for the base stabilization?
Yes,
20th of July, what you said?
middle of July.
Middle of July,
I'll pin him down later, try and pin him down a little better at the next meeting, but that's what he's telling me for now. Of course, our chip seals project is slated to start June 26th, like almost a week from now. We got some signs to put up, some warning signs to put up before they start, and otherwise they'll be ready to go.
What are we chip sealing again?
Out in the Lakewood area, all over our county roads out there.
Everything we paid last year.
8A, up west, east of Webster, we're doing that also, that first 10 miles.
Those 2 areas.
Yep. those two.
8A, 1 walleye, and military then, plus the other stuff.
We're doing the Cove Road that at the same time,
Terminal Road?
Terminal Road.
And terminal, yeah. They all kinds of good stuff.
I just saw new stakes out there, so that's up there too.
Military, did you say that?
Yeah, military too, yeah.
What is it, Cove, Military and Terminal Road?
Yep. And
Ramsey
walleye,
one.
and
Alright.
1,
Gotcha, sorry,
and 8A, we got all kinds of chips.
Yeah,
on,
it'll be-
basically everything.
Keep people busy.
And that project always goes fast, 2 to 3 days, I'll have all 20, 18, 19 miles done. Graveling Ramsey 4A, we did work, all my crew is in the process of fixing soft spots with cement bags, we filled the cement in. So that Ramsey 4A is ready to go. And I talked to Soapers about that, they got the contract, they said the first part of July.
Is there work going on 4A now,
Today,
today?
but it's done.
It's done.
It's actually in, I mean, other than the moisture we got, it's in pretty good shape.
Okay,
There's no soft spots now.
so a motor coach with 56 passengers will not get stuck?
No, absolutely right.
Good to know.
Might be,
Won't have to pull a payload or
but
Well,
not
you know,
stuff.
muddy may be an issue, I think it's forecasted for rain tomorrow, but,
Yeah,
They got bus washers they can wash.
yeah, we'll have to deal with that.
no, that one's really firm now, so we're good there. And then 9A, which is over east of Highway 17 and 20. That's where we're working on our soft spots now, so. But it'll take, Soapers has got the contract on both those jobs. It'll take them a while to get 4A done. We will have 9A done before they're ready to start. Any questions on those 4 before I keep moving on there?
Questions? You're busy. It's not a question, it's just a statement.
Rain gutters, I I looked for 2 estimates, I've only got one, so I'm gonna bring that up at the next meeting rather than put those numbers out for public to use or whatever, and have an unfair advantage. So we'll deal with that at the next one. One more that I need to add to that list is relaying that culvert on Ramsey County 3B. There's 2 of them big 8-footers just south of where the Webster Road is. That's gonna start, when I say the first part of July, it'll probably be after the 4th, after the holiday. But that one's gonna start the first part of July also. I don't know what the 2 inches of rain's gonna do to him, but he's pretty good at dewatering, so. Any questions on projects? Alright, Seth Emery got ahold of me again from Nelson County, and his commission is asking if we are willing to pay for all the gravel on the first 6 miles, since they are doing, which is to the bridge, 6 1/4 miles it actually is with that little jog in the curves. And they are actually, it goes to the bridge, and they're doing everything south of the bridge.
How much is south of the bridge?
I think there's 13.6 miles or something like that, so we bought half, roughly half, 6 and 6, give or take, 6 and 6.
We were gonna split 50-50 before, weren't we?
Yeah, then now theirs, they are using their, Senate bill money, oil impact money. So, but they're putting a lot more gravel on it too than we would be. And they don't have enough oil impact money too. I mean, there's a match to that, we're gonna have to spend $16,000 of their money to finish that. And our section north of the bridge would cost, but they got an estimate from Soper's for $450 a yard for gravel, which is really reasonable. Our section will cost $22,500.
Sounds like a good deal to me. Do you need a motion to approve?
Yeah, we've had other motions that were lower than this, so now they're asking if we'll pay for all of ours, and now the amount is $22,500.
But they're gonna pay for the rest of it, south of the bridge.
Gravel the rest of it, and they're putting quite a few inches on, you know. They're putting 3 inches on where we'd be putting, all they asked us to put on was 800 yards, which probably doesn't even amount to 1 inch. Close, but not quite, because it's a really wide road.
I'd move to approve paving the, was it the south or the north? 6
The
and a half?
north of the bridge, south of the US 2.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second.
Thinking,
I got, I guess we're gonna wait for a second.
I'll second for
Go
discussion.
ahead, second.
I'll second for discussion.
What have we done in the past, Kevin?
We split 50-50, and then,
To the bridge? All
I
of it?
know, all of it, this 13 miles, I guess, includes 3 miles in Benson County?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably 3 miles in Benson County, so that's part of Benson Nelson split.
That's our deal.
And, I lost my train of thought, what was the question?
How have we done in the past?
Yeah, we split it 50-50, but the Nelson County bills part of their share back to the township.
Oh, really?
So they get like, I'm gonna say they bill 25%, it's a 50-50 split, and then they take their 50 and split it again and bill the township. Now, I don't think they're doing that on their oil impact money, it probably isn't gonna be allowed. So they're still gonna have their $16,000 of local match for their impact money.
So if we were to stay, or if we do stay with a 50-50 split versus doing north of the bridge, does that increase our cost, decrease our cost, or is it about the same?
That's a good question. My thought was it'll be about the same.
We're not putting on near as much gravel.
Right.
Why are they putting so much gravel south of the bridge?
That's part of the oil impact money, you have to put X amount of,
John.
yep.
So basically, they wanna do this to not force us to have to pay for 50% of 3 inches, because we're not gonna use oil impact money.
You're right.
Well, I guess it's a
So you
reason,
think they're helping us out?
well, not necessarily, but It might be harder to talk us into 50% of 3 inches of gravel versus 50 versus inch or inch and a half of the gravel. I think is what we're thinking, which is a reasonable, actually pretty reasonable position that they're in. I think it's
They were very agreeable on the law enforcement centers.
yeah.
And I have it in my budget too, so.
If it's close enough, I mean, there's no reason to argue with them about it, I don't think.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Go ahead, Kevin.
And then the cement bags that we're using to firm up Ramsey 4A, 9A, are gonna cost around $5,500. We haven't purchased all of them yet, but that's gonna be the total of what we're gonna need. So we need a motion.
Motion to approve.
The motion and a second. Any other discussion? You want a roll call on this or not? Roll call.
Wakefield,
Aye.
Lightfon,
Aye.
Brett,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Brown.
Aye. Go ahead, Kevin.
I finally got the chance to drive down to that degrowth cemetery now, and I misspelled Stornstein's name, apologize for that, but, you can't get there.
You can't.
No, even with a four-wheeler. There's about a football field length or something like that where if you sit on the whole side of a four-wheeler and ride a track, you might be able to get there. But I did have the chance to talk to Jim Houseman, who was down in there doing some work farming. And he intends to fix that 1,000-yard piece because he could get some farm ground, I don't know how many acres, but it's advantageous to him to fix it up. And he's got scrapers and diggers and discs out that set out there. So that's kind of where we're at there. He's kind of taking care of that himself, Mr. Hausman, and that's what I know about that. Well, you can't get there from the, you have to come in from the backside, I guess, the long way around. You have to go through a field and to the roads. You can't come down the road that originally accessed that. It's just like 3/4 of a mile of 3 feet of washout. It's just terrible.
Did he say if there's any water on the cemetery or?
No, there's no water in the cemetery. Just that little low spot to get to the cemetery.
Did you think the ground around the cemetery would dry?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Everything's dead, the trees and, I mean, it's unfortunate, but there's nothing growing there anymore.
Which cemetery is this now? I'm trying to wrap my head around.
The road be up in there off Highway 10, west of Highway 10, or County 10, excuse me.
Yep.
So this
About
is this the
2
Chain Lake
miles,
one then?
huh?
This
And
is
off
Chain
the
Lake
west
Cemetery
end.
then? Okay.
Southwest maybe a little bit?
It's southwest of 10 up the curve there before you go
Yeah.
back up to the top again.
Yeah.
Kind of northeast of Chain Lake.
Okay.
It's a small cemetery, it's not huge, but nevertheless, it's a cemetery.
Now, northeast of Chain Lake, like the actual lake or like the cemetery?
Oh, the lake.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the lake.
I didn't know maybe there was 2 cemeteries back there, you know, like some of this has been underwater for so long.
Straight east of Lake Dallas.
Okay, pretty slow down.
You get a pretty good idea where it is, you drive up,
Yeah.
what, 10?
I've been back in there.
I haven't been
when
up
I
there.
was trying to find it, but I was able to kind of get my bearings as to where it would be.
You actually have to go through his crops, I mean, he's got a trail through his crops to get his work done, but you have to go, there's no section line, no,
Used to be a schoolhouse there,
yeah, that's pretty much,
you know, kind of on a corner where you turn and go west. And then Garland Wasted's farmstead was right on the south of the cemetery.
Yeah, okay.
Where was,
Right
where
around-
was the Storstein's place at?
Oh, to the northwest.
Northwest.
You have to go west and then back to the north again.
Very far?
No, not, you know what, half mile
Half
each
mile.
way,
yeah.
you know, west and north again. You know,
Yeah, because the original access was straight from the west,
Yeah.
or straight from the east
East.
coming down.
Straight from
Yeah,
the,
because it went on the south side and then the cemetery was on the north side of the road.
yeah,
And they said there's what, 3/4 mile of washout in there?
we're pretty close, yeah.
So you have to come in from the north, basically. That's what you're talking about.
Yep.
through a field, right?
Huh?
Through a field and,
Yeah, through,
yeah.
through planted field. Yeah, he's been providing access to it through his field.
Yep, he has. I mean,
Because Karen, his wife is on the cemetery board.
Oh, I didn't know that, no.
Yeah.
I'm sure she has some relatives buried there.
Yep, they do.
So I don't know what there is that the county can do there, but that's more of a heads up from what I saw. I think Jim plans on making that road passable for farm machinery, which then anybody would be able to get there, so.
Well, if he finishes doing that, we gotta send him a letter thanking him for doing it.
Absolutely, he's done a lot out there. Any questions on that? Okay, last thing I have is our Starkville motor grader has a couple of cylinders that were low on compression. So RDO has agreed to do the engine work before it goes off of warranty, and it's just more of a heads up than anything. It shouldn't cost us anything.
They do it right in the shop, or do they gotta?
They are
take it
gonna
in?
haul it to,
They'll take it in.
the operator's going on vacation for 10 days, so it worked out great.
No,
Anything else, Kevin?
That's all I have.
thank you.
Thank you. Move into new business, discussion on licenses for Walter Johnson, any more discussion there? Okay, approve LEC billings,
Motion to approve.
motion to approve, is there a second?
Same.
Second, any other discussion? Roll call.
Britt,
Aye.
Wakefield,
Aye.
Lightfon.
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Brown.
Aye. Approve NMIS billing,
Motion approved.
got a motion, and then second,
Second.
second. Roll call.
Wakefield,
Aye.
Britt,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Lightfon.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye. Site authorization for Raffle.
Move to approve.
Got a motion, got a second.
Second.
Second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Approval of liquor license.
Just the whole list, all the paperwork's in order.
Everything's good?
Motion to approve the list as presented.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, motion carried. Accept letter of resignation. So we need a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept it.
Okay, we got a motion?
Second.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Now we're gonna review the job description for emergency and risk manager, floodplain administrator. Anybody got any ideas and any changes you want in there?
I think changing that classification to essential is a good idea. You know, I think that's in there.
What'd you say, Jeff?
Changing the, to an essential position.
Oh, okay.
That was in there the last time.
So we have a better layout now on job descriptions than we have in the past, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's beneficial that it's all laid out there. My only question in looking at all of this was, you know, how many other counties, and I suppose we're probably specialized comparatively because of the lake, but have the floodplain administrator role? Most counties have that as well.
I don't think so.
I mean, my only thought was, is it something we want to keep under the emergency manager?
I
Or
don't think so.
or do we want to move it up to the tax directors or something like that? Because that's more of a zoning thing than it is emergency management.
Agree with you.
And I guess I haven't had time to sit and talk with Beth about it, But like, just was thinking about it yesterday, and I haven't had a chance to get in and visit with her, but
Probably one thing we should talk about.
yeah, previous to making a change, I think it would be good to make sure she has the ability to handle it. And, you know, she's had two staff under her in the past and only has one now, so I mean, if that would be something, maybe we'd wanna roll in if she's gonna hire another person as part of her job duties or something. But just, that was the only thing I was thinking when I looked at the description. Other than that, it looks good otherwise.
Is this still a full-time job?
Emergency manager,
Sure should be,
it should be.
yeah. You know, I think we have a very unique situation in our county with the lake and the ups and downs with that, and, you know, the state does pay 50% of that admin cost on that position, so,
We're basically getting a full-time employee with paying a lot.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's something that's required under century code.
Right.
Well, do all, I guess,
Very
if you
few.
have a look at.
I mean, neighboring counties don't have full-time. Benson, I think they use their tax director, don't
Well, in the past, it's been tax director, it's been highway department, you know, I know Kevin worked a lot on those FEMA PWs. But there was hundreds of millions of dollars that come through Ramsey County, through that disaster, those disaster declarations. There was 19 disaster declarations in 19 years, or 19 disaster declarations in 17 years. That's what it was, but it was, and that was an awful busy position down there when that lake was coming up. So it needs to be the right person, and you know, hopefully it's one of those people that we don't have to use, but not planning for an emergency is not a good thing to do. That's my 2 cents.
I agree with Jeff.
I just questioned it because, you know, the lake, fortunately right now is level and going down, so, you know, I know it's come up back in the past that, you know, if it continues to drop, I mean, are we gonna have the workload for this employee?
I guess the question would be is if you feel it's a half-time position, where are you gonna fit it in to
Well,
being somebody
yeah,
else,
oh,
you know,
yeah,
throwing
yeah.
the description or job onto somebody else?
It was just a question.
No, and I think it's a reasonable question to ask whenever a position opens, you know.
Because it has come up several times, you know, in the past. That, you know,
But I'm just
it's a
trying to
full-time
think,
job.
you know,
Yeah,
where would be
absolutely.
a natural fit if you wanted to do something like
Yeah.
that.
Maybe there's such a thing as, like Adam brought up the floodplain, their administrator. Maybe there's some way we can fit it in with the tax department. Have another person there to handle this and that, or, you know, we probably need somebody more trained in the flood
Well, that's-
administration. And that's been a problem since I've been on the commission, is trying to determine where the floodplain starts and stops. You know, the state has set some guidelines that we somewhat follow, but.
Yeah. I just think that, you know, I guess, you know, there's 2 separate questions. The floodplain administration thing to me is a zoning issue, because we talk about, you know, where do we tax at 53, 51. Floodplain administration to me completely makes sense with zoning. Emergency management's a completely different piece. And the way we're looking at the job description, I mean, you need somebody that has experience in emergency management or has background in training in emergency management. Well, if you're gonna find somebody that has that specialized training, they're not gonna come to work for you half-time. I mean, they're just not, unless it's something where you're willing to forego that specialized training and put it under another department. I guess I'm of the opinion that if we're getting 50% of it paid for already, it's probably beneficial just to keep it a standalone position and get somebody that has good training. And maybe if we don't feel the emergency management portion of it is as big as it has been in the past, we can put some duties that match that, more safety work and things like that. You know, because we could always have a more robust program doing things like that, I suppose.
We're not gonna find somebody, I don't believe, with emergency management.
And we might not,
experience.
but I'm just
Kristen
saying,
didn't have any,
yeah,
no.
but I'm just saying.
She learned.
I think it's it's worthwhile to keep the description the way it is, and maybe you get lucky.
Does NDSU have something now?
NDSU started an emergency management
Yeah, they've had.
program,
they've done
and
really
it's been ongoing for enough years where there's probably some graduates out there. And
There
whether or
is.
not- Whether or not they'd be looking for positions and, you know, yeah. The other thing that counties have done, and this was years ago, I'm not sure if they still do it, was, and they've split those responsibilities among departments that they already had. Sheriff's Department, Steve, Highway Department.
You guys want some more work is basically what he's asking.
You know, so, you know, but it was kind of a hodgepodge of different duties. And, you know, so-and-so would take on this, and, you know, road would take on the road issues, kind of thing. But I don't know if they're doing that anymore, or even recommending counties do that, especially a county of Ramsey County size with the lake and the issues that we have. You know, they also deal with all the hazardous materials within the county as well, and planning and preparing for those local emergency operations, and you know, at least the local or the downstairs emergency operation centers, that's still a secondary PSAP. So, you know, if the LAC 911 went down, you're supposed to be able to move things down there, or move them over to Rugby, and, you know, so it takes a lot of, you know, the thing that to remember about an emergency manager, they're not a first responder. Their roles and responsibilities during a disaster is to be downstairs and helping the sheriff's department and emergency responders deal with making sure that they have the personnel, the equipment to handle whatever disaster that they have, and making sure all the paperwork is in place, so when it comes back for reimbursement to a county for whether it be state or federal, that we have all our ducks in a row there. So, you know, like I said, it's one of those positions that you hope doesn't get used, but you need to have them staying current and making sure that your plans are continuing to be updated and approved through the state, whether it be your local emergency operations plan, your hazard mitigation plan, you know, all those different kind of things. And yeah, floodplain administrator should probably not be down there.
I think it's just a deal where it kind of just got thrown in there in the past because it just,
She didn't have any knowledge of
yeah,
it.
yeah. If she didn't have any, you know, she probably had a little bit of extra time, and it was like, okay, we got a place to put it. You know,
Yeah, I think
and that's that.
you know, it got put in there years ago because of all the work that was being done with the homes and the floodplain administration, and the development permit that was being issued as far as elevations were concerned. You know, yes, you can build your house here, no, you can't, based on the firm maps.
But most of that has been covered now. so.
Most of it, and hopefully we don't go back that way, but,
What do you think, Kevin?
I do have one comment that Roger approached me. Did Roger approach any of you guys?
He wants it, huh?
No.
All right.
I gotta be careful how I trend here. He ended up many times down here unlocking and taking care of the basement and making sure it was locked up.
Well, we got a line in there now that should cover it all.
Oh,
We got it within 15 minutes, so.
he thought maybe.
We got our hands tied on the last one, and I thought it was in there and it wasn't. And we already hired and it wasn't in the job description, and so
Yeah,
we couldn't do nothing.
he expressed to me he wished they would live in town or close to town.
No, I think that's very intelligent.
well, and I think that's where that essential personnel comes into play, is that, you know, if you're essential personnel, this is what that entails, and this is what's gonna be required of that. I'll maintain this, is that that's not the role and responsibility of an emergency manager, is to unlock this building during severe summer weather. You know, it was always, you know, I don't know who is gonna designate it, you know, yeah, we're a bomb shelter, we're a emergency shelter, but I've said before, that person is not a first responder, and so, you know, and how it came up that you know, unlocking the door was when it was, well, I have a new car, what happens if I come up here and then my car gets hailed on? And the county looked into it and Endurf doesn't pay for that. You know, our policy, our insurance policy with the county does not cover that vehicle's damage. And so it'd go back onto their personal responsibility or their personal insurance. And I guess, you know, you can't say that I blame them. You know, but so that's kind of where that all, because it used to be Roger, it used to be Elizabeth, it used to be whoever would come up and unlock it, but, oh, wait a minute. You know, if I'm gonna get hailed on my vehicle.
No, we've heard that.
Yeah.
It's not
and
that.
that's-
So we got it covered now, so the police are open, the
Yeah.
building, or the sheriff's office is open, we've covered that, so.
Does there have to be, the question was there have to be somebody here when there's people in the building, right?
Yes.
Please. Right?
No, just somebody.
Well, somebody,
Somebody.
We're probably gonna be busy.
That's the thing, you don't wanna tie you up sitting in the building
but,
babysitting.
Well, if we're here.
Yeah, if you're here, yeah.
but if we wanna add that responsibility to the emergency manager, I guess that would be something that we could certainly put in that job description and make sure that whoever's hired is understandable and willing to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're probably right that in a perfect world, it doesn't belong as part of the responsibilities, but given the nature of the beast, I think that it's the only way that it makes sense. We'll just have to be sure that when it comes time to do interviews and see who the candidates are, that we make it very explicit that you're gonna be expected to be here. Hell or high water.
Yeah. You know, and it's a perfect, it's a perfect place to hide out.
When's the next meeting this Saturday?
In inclement weather, because you are very well protected down there. And if a storm were to hit, that's where you're gonna be needed to be. So, you know, yeah, it makes perfect sense for that emergency manager, but I don't, you know, so I think that if it's not explicitly put in that job description, I think it should be.
You think it should be?
Sure, you know, why not?
If it's gonna be an expectation of the
You know,
job, it should be in the description.
Yeah, but I also think maybe that,
I thought we started off using the local police,
well,
get the building open.
I guess in worst case scenario, they have access, but
I think
like
that's the best case.
Sheriff
They're the
Nelson,
ones that are gonna get the warning first.
Sheriff Nelson said, you know, they're probably gonna be tied up with other things. They may not have that ability to be here at that moment. You know, emergency managers, there was all kinds of different apps that they were notified on inclement weather and things like that were coming in that was maybe not readily available to the general public. So,
Not that we're kind of diverging from it, but I'm just, it's bouncing in my head right now. In today's day and age with fiber optics and all the fancy stuff we have where I can turn my lights on at home from my phone, can't we get some type of a lock that we can unlock from a cell phone or something?
Yeah.
So the building can unlock itself on one specific door, so you
Very
don't
good
have to
point.
be here
Very
in
good
12
point.
minutes to unlock the door if the storm comes up quick. And we just have to really advertise to the public to know which door to go to so they can get downstairs.
What story want to use, main one?
I don't know, but I'm just saying, I think it's something we can look into.
Most parking's out
I
there.
mean, for the love of God, I mean, you've got, you can run your whole house off of your.
Yeah, that's a good idea, Al. Very good idea.
no.
I mean, I don't know what's out there, but I'm just saying, maybe it's something to look into.
Well,
Sure there is.
like you said, worst case scenario and you can't be here.
Well, I mean, even if you're 15 minutes away, like my house to here, sometimes the storm will come up like that.
Open
And,
the door.
you know, even if you live 15 minutes away, getting in would be, you know, and then if the sheriff doesn't have anybody in town, because the deputies are out in the county doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Weather watching, trying to see where it's coming from. and-
Yeah, I mean, stuff comes up.
That's what we do.
That's all I'm saying.
And we're out looking for the things to make
Yeah.
sure we can go.
Yeah, well, you guys are basically spotters.
But then you have this other problem that nobody thinks about. I drive by here and they're all standing in the front doorway looking at the storm. So who's gonna make sure that these people are here, are in the basement and behaving? Or are they all standing out in the front lawn looking at the storm?
Well, if they
With the
are,
door hanging
That's
out.
not your
we can't-
responsibility.
Yeah, so that,
You
we
provide
can't
the
stop
access,
people
so.
from.
I know, but I mean, then you're opening it all up to liability.
Wow, we better have another meeting to discuss.
Possibly, I'm not saying, yeah, but I'm saying there's ways we can maybe do something.
Let's get our HR person here.
There's things to explore, that's all I'm saying.
Let's
It's a
table this
discussion.
to the next meeting, then we can make a decision on how we wanna go forward.
Then I'll add another curveball to it.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Candy's
We
got
have
something, Candy's got something.
Nelson County Emergency Manager is going to be retiring at the end of the month.
Okay, that's not our problem. You wanna partner up? Is that what it is? or
That's
That's what
what
they wanna do.
they're wanting to do.
what They wanna do?
This isn't a Candy one,
That's our way
this is
out.
Nelson County talking to us.
I talked
Did you?
to Nancy about, and she mentioned it, and after some thought, and I just think it would be a bad idea.
I don't know how you do it.
It's too geographically big in order to meet those requirements that we're gonna put forward. You know, I think,
Maybe we don't have to put all these requirements forward. We just
well,
make an emergency manager out of them, let them administrate the emergency manager.
you know.
Maybe there's some assigned duties we can pay a little bit and get some of these things done.
If all.
Other than have an emergency manager stand and open the door ahead of a tornado. Maybe we don't need to do that.
Yeah,
Like I say, the city cops can get that door open also, but I like Adam's idea with the phone. There's no reason we can't do that.
I mean, something to look at.
When it needs to be open, emergency manager can do it from her couch if she wants, or her, or him, or whatever I'm saying. But
I think whoever it is.
I think this is a good idea. We should pursue that.
You know, whoever is responsible for opening the door, they need to know that. And so the public isn't coming up here and it's a locked door. So
Yeah.
we need to have that covered, and whether
With
it's.
the phone, we'll have it open, right?
Right, yep,
Is theirs full-time?
Yeah.
Candy, do you know?
halftime.
Yeah, the question is.
Kevin, do you know?
No.
It's
Not full-time.
part-time,
Halftime?
because it was with something else.
Superintendent of schools.
Yeah, there you go, it was halftime.
And that's the other one that they're having difficulty
They
filling
had
as well.
a halftime superintendent of school. Interesting.
Yeah,
One school,
no,
right?
Oh, they got
no, they have.
multiple schools.
Two.
Dakota Prairie.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, it's kinda interesting, you know. Every county's a little different.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's pursue that a little bit, see what they're thinking anyway.
I don't think it hurts to talk. I don't know if that's the route we wanna go, but.
I'd make a motion that we table this discussion.
Thank you, be interested. Say, got a second?
Yes.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried.
My only question.
Library director, well, go ahead.
No, I'm not trying to prolong the discussion, but my only question would be this then. In the interim, our emergency manager isn't going to be here as of Friday,
Yeah, well, yeah.
technically. So,
Next Friday.
yes, do we have to make a motion essentially to have somebody take care of the duties until we have somebody in position?
I think that's usually
Can you
covered in the LEOP, isn't it, Steve? That the sheriff is
Well,
next in line,
we haven't looked at that for
Not
about 7
necessarily,
years.
but.
not necessarily.
I'm just saying, at least I think it's reasonable that if this, the duties can be split as need be, but we should at least have a point person.
5 years, 7
Yeah.
years.
And I would say that Steve's gotta be that.
Rhonda, did you want that job?
I was
Yes,
just
she
thinking,
does.
kind of, I did take the surveillance
Can I
committee
hold her
from
hand
her,
for a
she
second?
didn't ask me. She's kind of covered
She has.
pieces as far
Has she?
as, yeah.
So she's kinda split, talk to everybody so they kinda know what's going on.
Roger, yep.
Okay.
Roger's going to do the building part of it. I'm doing the risk management part of it.
Sounds good.
It's tougher than another.
You got it?
me too, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
In other words,
Yeah.
and then we can
Candy
show
can
that,
take care of it.
Candy
All I
can-
know is I got a 24-hour window.
I can surely assist with whatever.
Lucas,
you need or
we'll
any
move
help or
forward into the
anything
library
else.
director, you introduce them, then we'll get on to something else.
Excellent, I'd be glad to. So
Thank you, Lucas.
it's my pleasure to introduce the new director of the Lake Region Public Library, Ignacio Mendez. Ignacio, if you'd like to introduce yourself to us.
Sure. Hello everyone, my name is Ignacio Mendez. As Lucas stated, I am the new library director. I'm very honored and pleased to be given this post, and I will do so to the best of my ability to carry out the labors and responsibilities of library director in my library. And I hope to keep up to the standards of previous library directors. And yes, I'm to your disposal, and I'm very honored to serve the city of Devils Lake and the state of North Dakota. As of right now, I have no further announcements, but look forward to next month where I will no doubt have many announcements.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Glad to have you on board.
Thank you.
Visitors and delegations. Anybody want to visit with us?
Paul, you have anything from Chamber you wanna? We
The
met
fishing
yesterday.
tournament, yeah, we have
Yeah.
a fishing tournament starting Thursday this weekend, so pray for nice weather.
Get your dog kennel buried.
What is that supposed
Sorry,
to mean?
I'm sorry, I apologize.
I have no idea what that meant.
Did you watch Facebook last week?
No?
No, okay.
We're good?
I have
Yeah, we're
All
good.
kinds of-
just an FYI thing for the board. We ordered new vehicles last December. They did not get approved by the EPA because of the federal shutdown. So they're in limbo. So I've been keeping contact with Brad at Chrysler where we ordered them from, got the bid. He says they still intend to build them, they just don't know when. It might be November, it might be next year, we don't know. So, this is the one we accepted the bid on, so I said, so what do? So I asked him to give me a price on the next step up pickup, which is, I think, instead of the special service vehicle, it's the tradesman, with the same basic packages. And he called me back, the next day, and for $40 more per vehicle, we could get those in 60 to 75 days. So I already told him to order it and cancel the other one. The only difference we're changing is, we're getting cloth back seats instead of vinyl. So, just FYI, we've been waiting, and I'm going, initially it was $3,000 a vehicle, that's why we didn't, that's what we thought the price difference would be.
I had that problem.
But when I actually asked him to price it out, he said, I priced it out, and they came, so, just so you know what's going on there, in case you hear, but,
Because you're getting summer vehicles.
yeah, we're finally getting our cars ordered in December.
You're gonna order them in December?
No, I already have placed the order, and the day he told me the price, I just did it.
Our December vehicles are gonna show up in September.
Well, I didn't know if we were gonna get our vehicles ordered last year by the time I ordered them this year. But evidently the EPA still hasn't approved it, so they haven't made any in the United States yet. They changed something on this SSR vehicle, and
Hey,
so that's all, just to keep you, that's, I hope it's okay I did that.
we'll be looking forward to the new pickups, yeah, we'll keep that.
And do we trade in the old ones or we?
No, we just
surplus?
hold on and sell them at the surplus.
Cause that'd be a great emergency manager vehicle.
No.
Yeah.
Which one, the new one?
No,
Whatever you can get rid of, you'll look.
Well, typically what we do is we take the best one that we have, and we keep that one as a spare squad car, in case we have a service issue or something, or a transport. And then we also use it as a transport vehicle, and then we take the worst one and we get rid of it. Or give it to social services in the
That's what we
past.
used to do.
Actually, no, we gave you our good ones,
Social service.
but they aren't dead. They're okay.
Okay, announcements, any announcements from the commissioners?
Our water tour is tomorrow, there's a full bus. We have, I think there's 3 state representatives on there, state legislators, and 4, maybe 5 county commissioners besides Mr. Wakefield, from all over the state. But it's a full bus, and hoping for nice weather and nice roads, so. Other than that, zebra mussels were discovered in Lake Ashtabula on Thursday, which is a very, very nasty little aquatic nuisance. That's once you get them, you can't get rid of them, you can't eradicate them in any way, shape, or form. And they populate by the gazillions. They're very prolific, and yeah, it's very bad news, I guess, for for the game and fish and A&S community and the anglers and recreators and all that kind of good stuff. Not sure exactly how they got there, but they've probably been there for a couple years. So,
Off a boat, I bet. You know,
but it's something that we need to be aware of and be very cognizant around our lake. It scares the bejesus out of me. With that, you look at Lake Mille Lacs in Minnesota, about the same size as our current elevation, and their property values have decreased by 26% around their lake in the last 10 years. They have a one catch limit on walleye. In the past years, they've had a zero catch. It was a catch and release only lake. And a lot of that is due to a couple different aquatic nuisance and you know, so, yeah, it's something we want to strive really hard on keeping out of Devil's Lake. And hopefully they're not already here.
You're so
But is the east end running, pump?
Both of them are running.
Might wanna turn that off. That's how they're gonna get here.
going up the
No, they can't, they won't swim upstream. They'll be, their villagers are, their eggs or their offspring are microscopic, and so they'll flow upstream, you know, or downstream. They can't flow upstream. But as they deposit, they attach themselves to hard surfaces, whether it be rocks or boat lifts or docks or whatever else, beer cans, signs, boots, within your body of water, and they start to multiply. They get transported through water, vegetation, strings, ropes,
I've been on boats.
birds, construction equipment that's been around aquatic, used in aquatic situations, but it's really a nasty, nasty thing, so. Clean, drain, and dry.
Any other announcements? We're adjourned.